채널 젊은 달.
I had no dreams of being in movies. I mean, that's what those other people did. That's what Sean Connery did. That's what Michael Caine did. So I wanted to be in the theatre, and you were considered a bit of a sissy if you wanted to. But I did go to drama school. Yes. I tried RADA. It was awful audition, and there was a panel of 3, and a woman who was in a sort of tweed suit with a sort of long sort of cigarette, who just sort of said, well, I would think about to consider something else to do for a living, darling. and then, but I didn't give up, and then I went to Rose Bruford and auditioned there, and got in and did 3 years of formal training. I would do a play and a film and a play and a film. I don't know where I've got the energy from, because when I did Prick Up Your Ears, I was in rep at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I had about 5 plays in my head, and I was doing Joe Alton in the day. So you would go early at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I would shoot with Stephen until 5, and then I would get in the car and go to the Barbican and try and remember what play I was in.
난 사랑이 뭐길래라는 텔레비는 잊어버릴 수가 없어. 그 많은 대사를 해야지 되는데 막 그 여자가 늘 움직이면서 하는 거예요. 그래서 내가 나중에는 다 외웠는데, 정말 마르고 닳도록 외웠는데, 현장에 가서 뭐 숟가락을 놓으면서 뭐 큰 이모님 앞에서 이렇게 하고 그러면 블락킹이 내가 생각했던 거하고 틀려지잖아. 그러면 내가 대사가 막히더라고. 그래서 나중에는 지하실에서 나 혼자서 다리미질 할 땐 다리미질을 하면서 대사를 했고, 숟가락을 놓으면서, 식구별로 숟가락을 놓으면서 내가 그러면서 대사를 외웠어. 나 그런 노력을 다시 못해.
그게 김수현 선생님 드라마잖아요.
네네, 사랑이. 난
그분이 대사량을 엄청나게 쓰신.
엄청난데 내가 쓰러졌어요. 하다가 중간에 쓰러졌는데 너무 희한해서 나는 이제 쓰러졌으니까 이제 못하겠지 녹화를. 그랬더니 혜자 언니가 그러더라고. 혜자 언니가, 내가 여우라면 혜자 언니 늑대잖아요. 우리가 널 기다려야 돼. 너 병원에 갔다 오는 동안 빨려야 된다. 그러니까 빨리 초콜릿 주는 거 먹고 튀고, 그 초콜릿 입에 물려주는 거 먹고 누워있다가 이재룡하고 최민수가 나를 이렇게 어깨다 골고다 언덕 넘어가듯이 치고 세트장에 들어가갖고 다시 하는데, 사람이 정신이 나가니까 내 딸 이름이, 하이라 이름이 지은이에요. 지은이라는 이름을 수억 번을 불렀을까. 근데 이렇게 딱 돌아섰는데 얘 이름이 생각이 안 나.
This is really, when you're first starting out, is you have to act wherever you can. You can't be picky. You really have to act wherever you can, and wherever you get a chance to act, and that might even be just in an audition room. This is something a teacher told me years ago, and he's right. Even if you're auditioning for something that you know you're never going to get, or you might have read it and you might not even have liked it, but you know that you have to go, that if you get a chance to act in a room that somebody else has paid rent for, then you're given a free chance to practice your craft. And in that moment, you should act as well as you can, because if you leave the room or the theater or wherever you are and you've acted as well as you can, there's no way that the people who've watched you will forget it. That's the only advice, because it's always about that. It's always about the work at the end of the day. Everybody knows that. If I show up to work one day and the work I'm doing isn't any good, I'm just a guy who's not acting well.
You are criticised so personally. You are bad. I hate that actor. Gets said, you know, oh, I hate that actor. Strong words. Some people are great actors, but they can't deal with the lifestyle because you're constantly being judged. There is so much rejection, even for people who work regularly. Drama school is a great idea. I really do believe that. And theatre school is a fantastic idea. It's 2 or 3 years where you get to be in an environment that is safe. Your vulnerability is protected. Nowhere in the professional world will you manage to get 20 gigs in 3 years playing, you know, all these different characters. You're kind of there to fail.
The roles that ask a lot of you is where you develop, where you broaden your horizons, your imagination. and what you learn from this great literature. I mean, if you're a cellist, right, you're going to want to play Bach, no? I mean, why wouldn't you? You're a cellist. Bach wrote for you. And eventually you want to play it. You play anything on it. But finally, that's what you want to play, because that's going to get you the kind of joy, the kind of excitement that is going to change your life, really. A lot of the parts I played as a youngster made me broaden my scope and my understanding of things. It's really important to open yourself up to that.
Like a great example being Dead Poets Society, okay? Ben and I got close on that, right? We both auditioned, we both got called back, we both...
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and we read that and I was like, this is an amazing movie. And I was probably 17 or 18. We didn't get it. We ended up having the summer job of working at the Janus Theater in Harvard Square, which doesn't exist anymore, but it played one movie the entire summer, and it was Dead Poets Society. So you go from the possibility of being in the movie to the guy tearing the ticket and watching people come out crying because they're so moved, right?
And watching Ethan Hawke
and watching Ethan Hawke and get nominated for an Academy Award, right? And it's like, wow, like that's the range of possibility for you if you go into that business. But having said that, we did get called back. So the business was telling us, it didn't work out this time, but you're doing some things right, you know, and then you need to get extraordinarily lucky, which is, you know, it's like when Primal Fear came along and everyone knew. I mean, I literally spent money on a dialect coach that I didn't have because there were two different dialects in the movie, and I was like, I gotta work on this, and because it was clear that whoever got that role was gonna blow up. And that was one of the things that was really the impetus behind Ben and I writing Good Will Hunting and focusing on it, was because when Edward Norton got Primal Fear, we went like, there's not gonna be another one of those that's gonna come around. Like, we gotta do our own thing.
I was a freshman, I was 22, and I walked into the theater department and I auditioned for Twelfth Night, and I got cast as Olivia, and that was the beginning. And I had a wonderful mentor there, Harold Scammon. He came up to me once, he said, just remember, you're a big fish in a very little pond. You know, even as bad as I was at auditioning, every now and then there'd come a time where I felt that I really was good, and I was as good as I could be in that moment. And then it didn't matter whether I got cast or not, because I knew I'd given my best.
私が若い頃は、年取った人はみんな年月を重ねて成長して成熟してるもんだとばっかり思ってたんだけども、自分が年取ってみたら何のことはない、ちっとも成熟してなくて、煩悩の塊だったり、もういろんなもう誰もが持ってる妬み、欲、プライド、そういうものがあるわけだから、そういうのがこの人の人生の中でどこかなって見ていくと、どの役も面白い。
I'm going through a script, and if I'm saying something, I don't understand why she's saying it, I'll just write why, and I know that I have to answer that question. Zero Dark 30, I was recruited out of high school, so then I underline that she was recruited out of high school, and then I write who recruited her, what was that story, and every time I go through the script, I keep adding to my notes to the side.
So you're almost creating a memory bank so that when
Yeah.
you're acting, you just have that there and you don't have
I don't
to.
bring my script to set.
You don't?
If I'm carrying this script in a way, it makes me feel like I'm not the character.
I can't talk myself into something. If I read it and I can't find my way in, I'm never gonna find my way in. I've made that mistake, being like, oh, I can figure it out, and then I struggle the whole time. So I've really learned to listen to that voice that tells me, I know where this character lives in me.
I'm always thinking it's a bad idea. I'm always thinking there's somebody else out there that can do this so much better than I can, and I'm gonna...
Including this. This is...
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, we're actors, right? So we're just walking insecurities. But when I have the right filmmaker, I can move away from the fear, and Jay Roach was that guy for me. I love when a filmmaker almost believes more in me than I believe in myself. Like, there's something, when somebody does that for me, I will drag my body over broken glass for them.
I feel like when you work with friends or when you work with people anyway, you're seeing them at your most vulnerable, most anxious, because there's a lot of pressure, as you know, and you have to kind of get it right the first time. So people kind of can behave erratically because you know they're under. But when you suddenly are in the with someone who kind of lets you know that they're in support of the thing overall and you in particular, then you kind of naturally bond over that, I think.
Yeah.
And I never feel like the difference between life and work and those relationships are always very blurred. It's hard for me to be friends with people I don't like working with.
The way I always approach it is this, that I like to have my own ideas completely worked out so that if a director, I come to find his working method is that he doesn't want to talk to me. That I'm not at a loss. There's nothing worse. I've seen other actors who stand and somebody shouts action and they're just going, I don't know what to do. They need somebody to come and tell them what to do. I never look at a director as somebody who tells me what to do. I look at it as someone who we work together in something, and therefore I need to be responsible too. So I have to bring something to the table and say, I will do it this way. If you never say it, if you keep silent, this is how I'll do it. And I'll give a few different versions, but it wouldn't matter if they said nothing.
I think it's very important to be ready to do it, even very important with the dialogue, so that you're not thinking about it and you're just prepared. And so that I can take my mind and do something else totally. If you're so intent on doing that, it gets in the way of when you're actually there in the moment. Other actors do this, they'll joke around on the set after and stuff like that, or during, before, to take your mind off it. And then when you do it, that's okay. It kind of frees you in a way.
굉장히 그 연기를 잘하기 위해서 너무 고민을 하다 보면은 정말 잘할 수 있는 부분도 놓치고 본인의 어떤 생각 속에 이렇게 갇혀버리는 그런 경우가 있기 때문에 후배들한테 오히려 단순해지고 간결해져라. 그래서 많은 생각보다는 어떤 그 인물에 아주 단순하게 그 인물에 집중해라 이런 뜻으로 말씀드렸던 것 같습니다.
There was a great director I worked with. He's a pretty savage director called John Dexter. He shouted at me to stand still, hold it, and be economical. Laurence Olivier said the same thing when I was working at the Vic. He said economize. He said because if you hit the ceiling all the time, the audience gets dull. They may as well go to the pub and get drunk next door. So he said, don't show too much. Just contain. But I never understood that, and as the years have gone by, it's sort of beginning. It's happened for me. I understand that the less you show, the less is more.
Clothes per se, the costume, whether it's modern or is terribly important to me. Always has been. Perhaps because I didn't have any technique for acting when I started, because I'd never learned to act. I had to sort of make believe like children do. You know how children get dressed up and make believe they're somebody. Or you can't, for instance, act the 17th century, nor can you really act a nun or act very rich or act very poor. That's something. You're a human being and your feelings are the ones you act. But you can dress 17th century. And this way the audience knows who you are and what you are.
Total immersion into possibility. What a life I could imagine I lived. And that's infinitely interesting. And there's no bottom to it. I read a lot of scripts. And my heart starts to race at some point when I have when I read a character that I want to do. And so that's the recognition of a like soul or something in there that I want to say. I'm so inscrutable to myself. I don't really know, I've never been in analysis and I don't understand very much about why I do what I do. This is why, I've been very shy to give an acting class or anything, because I don't know how to do it. And I'm always... No, I don't know how to construct it in a logical method that I could impart to someone. I think a class given by me would be something like, you just kind of like feel it. And, just trust yourself and all the stupid platitudes that, don't help.
That's what I'm aiming for. That's the best moment when I'm not making a conscious decision. You have all this time in rehearsals and before you actually start shooting, even on the day. That's the time where I think about all the different possibilities, and you go through the script and you can't help but come up with ideas. But if I ever go onto set and then consciously try to use one of those ideas that I've had, it's always really bad, like without fail. I don't know if it's good or not, I can't really say that, but the only time it feels like it works for me is when I'm not making that conscious decision, right? So I like to have, I guess, a lot of options like available. It's something that honestly I don't fully understand, and I don't really want to.
Every actor who plays theater can tell you that when you come off stage one evening and you say, I nailed it. Tonight was the perfect performance. I hit everything that I set out, and blah, blah, blah. Chances are at about 99% that the audience was bored. But the cosmic justice to that story is that it works the other way around as well. When you go off and say, that was the bottom of my career, and I will not be able to ever show my face to my friends and colleagues again, chances are, unfortunately they're not 99%, that people will come up to you and say, that was a great night.
If you think you know, then something's not quite right. You cannot tell. And I suppose the further out on a limb you are, the further there is to fall. And that sense of precariousness is something that you have to live with, and you better get used to it. But the work, you see, the work itself brings you back. These are moments we're talking about, moments of almost obliterating self-doubt, which every single person on the cast and crew, you see people disappearing into the shadows on any given day. And you see them, you see the core of them melting. And then they re-emerge whenever, 10 minutes, an hour later on, and they get on with it. And everybody goes through these moments. I think, what the hell am I doing here? And I've seen some of the most talented people I ever met stopped in their tracks, paralyzed by that sense of doubt. It's a balancing act.
Does it ever go away?
I doubt it.
But it hasn't gone away for you?
No. No, no.
명량이라는 작품은 분명 저에게 뜻깊은 영화였던 건 분명한 것 같습니다. 턱도 없는 미천한 몸뚱아리하고 생각으로 너무나 부족함을 느끼는 그런 좌절감을 맛보는 계기가 됐었죠. 정말 많이 공부해야겠구나. 끝이 없구나. 이놈의 일은 정말 끝이 없구나라는 그런 엄청난 중압감에 다시 한번 또 시달리게 되는 계기가 됐었습니다. 그래서 더욱더 감사한 마음이 드는 작품인 것 같습니다.
我喺演員呢個工作崗位做咗40年啦，你好似有好多包袱，你好似 establish 咗一樣嘢出嚟，咁你會好容易會覺得，如果有陣時犯咗啲錯啦，咁可能，所以呢個係一個壓力啊。我以前一向都係拍一啲我自己好熟悉嘅團隊啊，或者係好熟悉嘅導演。即係我覺得我最近都已經開始係嘗試做一啲好似紫光咁啊、Marvel 啊咁樣，咁起碼肯去試先。咁你唔經歷失敗又點會知道改變？即係喺邊個方面可以改進？即係當然你小心翼翼咁，你真係唔會錯。咁但係你永遠都唔會有再突破嘅空間。即係我考慮好耐，掙扎好耐。咁到最後決定咗，其實都係覺得，唉，係咪啱嘅咧？咁但係有陣時就係要咁咯， 即係唔好諗啦，試下去做先啦。即係唔好理啱唔啱或者會唔會唔好，即係唔好都係一個經歷嚟，我覺得。
I think that the business of an actor is to be at one with his technique and with his emotion and with his absolutely true feeling and his absolute sense of realism. It must ride absolutely with technique as a jockey must ride a horse. It must be one animal. And to some actors you can say, if they're out of control or they're not harnessed properly, they're acting, one might say, in one mood, is talent superbly harnessed. To some young actors who are raw, and a lot of people believe in talent and think that's the only thing that counts at all. It isn't. Something's called skill that is equally as important and more hard to achieve. And sometimes you say you are a wonderful horse, but you have a lousy jockey.